Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Lisa Knapp. As I said, I am with Agilent Technologies, and I will be doing the first part of the presentation, and then I will be handing it off to Keith in the latter part of the presentation. So what we're going to cover is liquid handling troubleshooting today. Most of the time, the reasons you guys are interested in this is you put your assay on the automation and you get bad assay data. However, many times the liquid handler is not the cause of that. The majority of the time it could be biological or chemical and absolutely nothing to do with the liquid handler. However, there are times when the liquid handler can be involved. And so we want to look at that and see what you can do to optimize your liquid handling for your assay. There are different kinds of errors you can have. You can have random errors that are really hard to determine the root cause of those. Sometimes you can have a corrective action for them, but not always. There are systemic errors, which is a major instrument issue. Maybe your instrument has not been PM'd for a long time, the O-rings are bad, you have damaged mandrels, you have, in some cases, your pod invecment can get off level, you have tip loading issues or things like that. In the case of like a span 8 instrument, you can also have pumps, motors, tubes, lost home positions, or poor alignment of your liquid handler. There's also, as I said, the biological processes. Are the concentrations of your samples correct in all the samples? So how's your measuring of that? Your reaction times, incubation temperatures. I find in our liquid, in most of the on-deck incubators, that you have to actually set it either a little bit higher or a little bit lower than the actual desired temperature to reach that inner well temperature appropriately. And then you finally want to look at your liquid handler and the lab work. The lab work can make a huge difference as far as whether your assay is successful. I have found that some labs will use third-party labware, so it could be Fisher or BWR branded, as in the States. I'm not sure what in the outside of the U.S. what they would be. But what happens with some of those is that you may be using that for a long time. It may work perfectly well, and all of a sudden you're seeing poor results with your assay. What happens with these third-party private labeled labware is that they OEM that out to a manufacturer. At a certain point in time, they may change the manufacturer of that, and so all of a sudden the dimensions are slightly different. So be aware of that. You can look for things like numbering on it. Is it raised or just printed on there? Any other kind of little things like the plastic looks a little different or something, and you may have to redefine that piece of labware if you're using a third-party branded labware. You can also look at your liquid classes, your aspirate dispense speed. Do you have a blowout? Do you not have a blowout? Scaling factor and offset, or the equation, or there's all kinds of different terms for that, for making the plunger move a little bit further or a little bit less to get an accurate volume. Your air gaps that you have, sometimes you need a post-aspirate air gap. Your aspirate and dispense heights. Are you consistently dipping your tip in at the same depth as your liquid? And then your method. Are you doing a wet versus a dry dispense, a mix versus no mix? The dispense order. In genomics particularly, you don't want to add your master mix with your adapters, or you'll end up with adapter dimers. You want to add your adapters to your sample and then add the master mix to that to avoid those adapter dimers. Multi versus single dispense, and we'll go into that in a little bit, how to make that successful. And forward versus reverse mode. Some of you may have not heard of that, but forward is just the standard aspirate dispense. Reverse mode is a little bit different. It's used when using maybe something that's a little bit foamy or bubbly, where you may aspirate up 10 microliters but only dispense out 8, leaving those bubbles and such in the tip. So next we're going to actually go, and what I like to do first when I'm optimizing an assay is actually visually optimize it. So watch the assay on the liquid handler look at it really, really close to make sure that it's working as it's designed before going in and doing that optimization for CV and accuracy. A lot of times you'll see some of the problems are just straight pipetting issues.